Hello, everyone. This is Sarah C. Podcast sponsored by TSE Worldwide Press, the publisher, printer that serves authors, publishers, now readers all over the world. And today we have this awesome privilege to interview one of our colleagues who was previously a college graduate from Biola University, and we're gonna have a conversation. She's gonna share with us about some of the things that she learned in her career path, and also the lesson learned from the book, From Illusion to Reality. True story and practical advice on how to prepare for career success before graduating from college. Well, Jessica Carrera, thank you for coming to this podcast and joining us and sharing about your tips in your career path. So, can you share with the readers, tell us a little bit about, like the audience, share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. So as Sarah said, my name is Jessica Carrera, and I did graduate from Biola University. I graduated back in 2021 with an English degree, concentration in writing, with also biblical studies minor. So yeah, I loved my education at Biola. If anyone out there is looking for colleges, I would 100% recommend Biola out there for you guys. But yeah, so I had a passion for English well throughout my schooling career, even when I was in elementary school. And so that's something I definitely wanted to pursue. And I absolutely loved, like I said, my schooling and just all of the knowledge that I gained during my time at Biola. I'll get into it more, but there are definitely a lot of lessons that I learned outside of Biola when it comes to career and career growth. So I'm excited to share that with you all today. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. What have you learned in your career journey so far?
Yeah, so like I said, I graduated back in 2021. So between now and then, I had a lot of, I would say maybe, I had a lot of head knowledge, so I learned a lot in my studies, and for maybe some business majors out there, you're learning even more about the business world than I did during my studies because I was an English major. But something that I really had to learn was to kind of take all of those skills and that knowledge that I learned during college and to apply that into a career. And it wasn't always easy. It was something where I kind of had to realize, like, oh, maybe I am really good at writing certain essays, or maybe I'm really good at keeping myself organized in my own way. But maybe I'm not the best when it comes to applying that when I'm working for someone else, when I'm working for a company, right? And so it was definitely almost something where I had to really put myself kind of in the shoes of like the employer and understand the differences that come from being in college, where in a sense you're your own boss, right? Other than obviously your professors are giving you assignments, but you're the one who's creating your schedule. You get to choose your classes, you get to choose, obviously hopefully you're choosing to do all your assignments on time, but you're also kind of dictating what times you'll be working on those things, versus when you get out of that and you start working for a company, then you're under the schedule of that company, and so you're under those deadlines of someone else. And so sometimes it can be kind of a shock to go from something that is very much more independent to something that's more like the collaborative experience, where you're working with other people, and kind of your work is really impacting other people rather than just yourself and your own grades.
That's wonderful to hear that. What surprised you when you started entering the workforce?
Yeah, I think a few things surprised me. I think that as when I graduated, I thought that I was very like nervous, I was very unsure of what was to come. And I think what surprised me is understanding that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of students or people that just graduated that are also feeling that way, you know? So I think that at that time I thought, oh, I'm just alone in this, you know, I'm kind of the only one that's feeling nervous. It also surprised me how, something that during college, you know, I was thinking like, oh, you know, I have my degree, I'll be able to just make it out there. And that's not necessarily untrue, but there's also, you know, practical skills and like experience that you need to have that maybe I wasn't completely aware of while I was going through college. And some things as, you know, maybe 2 years of experience in a certain, you know, program that maybe I didn't know I need to have any knowledge of that program during my studies, you know, so certain things like that. But I think it was really nice to realize that there are other people, and if you're out there and you feel like you're struggling, you're not the only one, you know. So I think that that's a like a nice surprise to realize, you know, you're not alone and feeling maybe uncertain of what the next steps are, or uncertain of, you know, how you get from college to an internship or from college to your first job or even from high school to college, you know. So I think that that was a nice surprise for me to have once I graduated and was moving on from there.
So at what point after you started entering the workforce that your feeling of loneliness, what you are not alone to feel that way? At what point, and how did you find out that you are not alone, but other newly college graduate also experience the same thing?
Yeah. There were a few things. I think definitely when I first started my internship, that was something that really helped me. It provided a lot of training for me and like a lot of wisdom. I think also staying connected with those people that you call friends, or maybe even you're not super close to them, but they're in the same degree as you. And so, you know, you're acquainted with them, just staying connected with them and seeing, you know, how you could even help each other out. You know, there's some people that I've gotten to see that graduated with the same degree that I did, and I get to just see, you know, the different unique things that they're doing now, and also kind of see how it might have been a struggle for them to get there. And that made it easier on me knowing that, you know, everyone probably will face some type of struggle trying to get from point A to point B. So yeah, keep those acquaintances or friends. Obviously, keep your close friends once you graduate. Stay connected, and also just be willing to put yourself out there. I think. I'm more of like an introverted person, and so putting myself out there is not the easiest thing for me. But when I do that, I can kind of see how influential it can be on, you know, on me. And like I said, I'm getting to know new people, and I'm also recognizing like where they are at in their career journey. Yeah, and also the book From Illusion to Reality right here. This was something that really opened my eyes to realize, oh wow, not every single student is way up there, super prepared to enter the workforce. And that made me feel better. And it also gave me like those practical skills to be like, okay, this is what I need to do to be able to kind of prepare myself and get myself going so that I could kind of be the best that I can be when I enter the workforce.
That's wonderful. So staying connected is the key, not to maintain the feeling on feeling alone or helplessness, after college graduation. And also, you mentioned about putting yourself out there. What would you advise, to other college graduate, how to allow themselves to be more connected and also put themselves out there?
Yeah, I think at least for Biola has a lot of ways to try to keep like alumni, you know, connected and stay together and even help each other out. And so not being afraid, you know, sometimes there's alumni nights. Obviously, every university and college is different, so I can't say that, you know, the university that someone who's watching this has chosen is going to have those same alumni nights. But if they do, you know, go to one, or you know, if a friend tells you, I think that you and this person would, you know, benefit each other in some way. Would you want to like maybe meet or connect on LinkedIn or something like that? You know, don't be afraid to take those opportunities. Um, social media is such a powerful tool
Mm,
nowadays where we really can stay connected with
mhm,
so many different people. And so, connecting with someone on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or something where, maybe you had those classes with them and you remembered, talking about, having a group project with them or talking about like
mm,
something specific with them, having a good deep conversation during one of your lectures or something like that. Don't be afraid to keep it going and to have that conversation, or even send them a message. Hey, I remember you from this class or from this time, and you really made an impact on me in this way. Just it really is so powerful to see other people that are kind of like in the same um like walk of life, same like chapter of life in a sense, because once you start graduating from college, people will kind of, differ, right? Some people will move on to instantly, doing something else. Maybe they'll move out of the country. And then there's some people that maybe will just be getting married. And so it's really nice to be able to kind of surround yourself with a big group and kind of be able to keep that connectedness across like all of these different chapters of life that are happening at once.
that's wonderful. So I think, taking that first step, taking the initiative is very important. We might, the other person, how you met, so that they know you are not a complete stranger. Yeah, I do agree. I still maintain my very big network of my Biola friends. Even though it's a few decades ago, they're really the main source of support and also for networking. So that's great. That great advice, to college graduate, taking the first step, taking the initiative to introduce themselves, to reach out to other alumni and also friends they might have met in a class for a long time ago. That's wonderful. My
Yeah.
next question is, what is something you wish you have known when you first graduated college?
Yeah. I think this goes along with kind of one of my previous answers. I really wish that when I first graduated, I was more aware, because during my when I first graduated, I still was very unaware that other people were struggling. Once I learned that, it was very helpful. But it was very easy for me to compare myself to, how this person just instantly got a job right out of college, and this person, they moved on to this wonderful internship. And it's very easy, if you're in a place like that where maybe you're still trying to figure things out, or during your your education, you felt like you were very like easy to compare yourself to others. I would say for me, I wish I could go back and tell myself, it'll all get figured out. You're going to learn so much during this time, and you are going to grow so much. That is one thing that has definitely happened, is a lot of growth. And so I wish I could kind of go back and be like, people are out there also struggling, and you're going to realize that soon enough. And so if you're out there and you think, you're all alone in this, and that, you don't know where to start, or you feel like you don't even know where to go from here, and you're just looking at everyone else and they seem to all have it together, you're not alone. And honestly, people around you don't have it all together. It's very easy to compare yourself, but especially on social media, we only see the highlight reels of people's lives. So it's just a good reminder to know that you're not alone in that. And yeah, like I said, I've grown so much, and during that time it was so necessary for me to be able to learn, and then to be able to see, oh, okay, I wasn't alone that time at all. And I've learned so much, and I've grown so much as a person and in my career. And yeah, I'm grateful for being able to look back and see how far I've gone from that point in time.
Isn't it amazing? It's been 3 years, right? Over 3 years since you graduated college. What do you think is the number one biggest struggle that you experienced at the beginning, and how did you overcome that struggle?
Yeah, so I think, and I think this might be specific to maybe certain majors, but for me, since I wasn't in like a business degree, or maybe I wasn't in nursing or anything, where there's kind of certain, um, it's kind of like you go from this point and then you kind of have like a guideline of where you need to go next from schooling, right? And so because I was in an English degree, it was very much it was so broad. There were so many things that I could do with my degree, and so that broadness kind of made it like oh, where do I go next, and so during my college, that COVID happened, and so that also made it hard because there was like internships that I wanted to do, and then they got canceled because COVID happened and everything like that during that time. And so it was very hard because I remember thinking, like, I just don't know where to go from here. I have all of this, like I said, I have all of this head knowledge. I have all of this, I have this degree. I have these 4 years that I've done, but I don't know where to go from here. And so that was my main struggle. How I overcame it was, I think probably not being afraid to put myself out there. I did try to connect. I did try my best, and not everything came back positive, obviously, and that's how it goes sometimes. But I did end up getting a wonderful connection with you, Sarah, and that has led into a wonderful internship and just on and on of just wonderful work experience. So yeah, I think understanding that in that struggle, you have to continue to put yourself out there. You have to continue to be proactive, even if it seems like you being proactive isn't getting anywhere. It'll eventually lead to somewhere. You can't just sit idly by, and so you have to kind of put yourself out there and keep pushing and advocating for yourself. That's what I would say, is to advocate for yourself and for your career goals.
That's wonderful, how you're able to turn your struggle into a blessing. In a process, you refused to give up, but you kept pushing forward, and now see where you are at 3 years later. That's wonderful. What advice would you give to other young professional and newly college graduate?
I'd give them quite a few pieces of advice, I think. Um, One, to look at everything that you're doing right now, and from this point on, as like a learning opportunity. So even if you have to do, for the time being, maybe you're doing like a part-time job until you get the internship or the career goal that you want to do, take that as a learning opportunity. You never know what kinds of skills, what kinds of just insights that you're going to be able to get, and work experience that you're going to be able to get. I think sometimes people can get really discouraged because they say, oh, I didn't want to be working at, Target, for example. I wanted to be working, doing the career I wanted to be. And so sometimes it's not as simple as, graduating to get to that career, but look at every opportunity that you have right now as something that's benefiting you. And yeah, I think that's one of the top tips I would give you. Also, just like I mentioned before, to remind yourself constantly that what you're doing right now is going to be benefiting your future. So putting in the effort and putting in the work to make those connections, to advocate for yourself, like I said, is going to make a difference. But yeah, I think every single day can be a learning opportunity. Every experience that we have can be a learning opportunity. And sometimes we don't understand why certain things don't happen right away, or certain opportunities don't come the way that we wanted them to. But just realize that everything happens for a reason, and you'll be surprised by, when things do come your way, why those things happen that way. And so, yeah, I would encourage everyone to also talk if you're feeling like negative about where you're at right now. Maybe you feel lost in your career journey, or you're feeling saddened because you didn't get an internship or whatnot, whatever it may be. Talk to those that you considered close to you, and express those emotions, because maybe one of your close friends is also feeling that way, and maybe that's something that you can connect with as well, and that'll create a sense of community as well, because like I said, you never know what other people are also experiencing during this time that you've just graduated. So yeah.
That's wonderful. what you just said kind of remind me that um, our success today is based on what we did yesterday. So, success does not come overnight. So it start with what we invested in the years before we experience the destination called success. So that's a great reminder. And also not giving up and keep persevering during the process.
Yeah.
My next question is, what is something you feel as though you are still learning? Now you have these 3 years of work experience, and you have experienced tremendous growth, in the business world. Um, so, you have quickly mastered a lot of new um, tasks in business and marketing and other aspect of business. What are some of the things that you feel um, you're still learning?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, as I mentioned in my last question, that every day is a learning opportunity. So I think that there are just always so many different little things that sometimes maybe I'm not aware of that I'm growing in. And I try to take it as an opportunity to grow. So something as simple as, when I first started my internship, and then on into my permanent job, I definitely struggled with organization, and so being able to grow in that way and then make it something so that it's so simple and easy for me to do has just changed my life, and also just the way that I show up to work every day, right? And so other things like even like communication, for me, like I said, I'm very introverted. I'm more of a quiet person. I'm very much like an introspective person. I like listening to other people rather than saying things out loud. And so something I've really had to grow. And, I definitely grew throughout college having to do this, but even more so during my work experiences, that, my ideas and my opinions and my feedback and whatever it may be deserves to be heard as well, and so being able to communicate effectively and to recognize that even though I'm young, and this is for anyone out there watching who feels the same, that even though I'm young, my feedback may have a really positive impact on the company. And so just I think communicating more effectively, I think I've grown a lot, and I think I'm growing every day in that, and recognizing my voice and the place that it has out there. I'm still definitely more of like a soft-spoken person. I'm definitely still more of that introspective type of person, but I've been able to kind of put my ideas out loud more often, and so I'm going to continue to try to challenge myself to still be that person and to keep putting those thoughts out there, even though sometimes I just want to stay quiet, and just keep it to myself, just to kind of push myself and be communicative. So I think that's one of the things that I've really gotten a lot better at and really grown in. And I would encourage anyone out there, if you feel like you're more of a quiet person, your feedback and your thoughts deserve to be heard as well.
That's wonderful. You answered the question I was going to ask. Because there are like some very shy college graduate, and they have been shy and introvert all 20 some years throughout their life. And once they graduated from college, they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to advocate for themselves, so they become feeling very defeated. So I think hearing from you, that's wonderful, that word of advice, just not to be afraid, putting themselves out there and take the first step of initiative. Just, take the initiative to allow themselves to network, just starting with the circle that they are already familiar with, like in the college. Like in a case, we both graduated from Biola University, which is an amazing platform and community where we can continue to network, and also alumni helping one another. So that's great. My next question is, how have the tips from the book From Illusion to Reality helped you in your career journey?
Yeah, so like I said, I have the book right here. Quite a few ways. Work ethic is one thing that has been really important for me and has inspired me a lot. So get your hands on the book if you want to read more about it. But for me, you know, I think it's so kind of disheartening to see others, in the workplace, even some companies, and just kind of the way that business goes about, and so to be able to develop my character and to develop, my work ethic and who I am as a person, and how that is brought into the workplace every day. I think it's made a huge impact on me because to be a person of a character and to be someone that, others can rely on, and in the place of, work, and, the workplace can rely on me as well. It just makes a huge difference. And, it's almost so easy, to see how some people cut corners and they do things in maybe not the most honest way. And so you see that, and it's just so it's something that's so obvious and so like such a simple part of like the world we live in, right? And to recognize that, I don't have to be that way. In fact, I'm not that way, and how my good character and how that integrity and how me as a person can show up and be the difference, and that will be positive, for the company. And I think it's a positive anyway, but that's something that, companies actually recognize, and they see and they say, oh, this person is different, this person has really good integrity, and this person, I can trust them, I can trust them to do this, I can trust them to be this type of person and to show up in this way. That makes a huge difference. And so yeah, I think that has been something that's very impactful because, like I said, it is very disheartening to hear about just different situations with, different people and companies and whatnot, and to hear how some people just, they don't show up in that way and they don't have that integrity and that character. And so yeah, I would really recommend, for those of you out there who recognize that need to have that solid good work ethic, to pick up the book and to read how you can really hone in on that, and to build that up so that, when you present yourself in an interview and everything like that, they see that difference and they go, wow, this person is someone of character. This is someone that I can trust, and I want to bring them on board for these reasons. So be that difference and show up to work in that way. And yeah, it's something that's really impacted me for sure.
That's wonderful. What would be your piece of advice to college graduate who never worked in their entire life? They may have worked at fast food restaurant, but not in a corporate real world, right? And professional environment. They have no idea what work ethics. They simply observe the company culture that may not represent, a good work ethics behavior. What will you advise to those college graduate that never worked before but first time entering the workforce?
I would say a few things. I'd say be um be willing to learn from your mistakes. So, when mistakes are pointed out, because, especially if you're brand new and you're still trying to figure things out, mistakes are going to be made, no matter how perfect you try to be, no matter how, like on the dot you make everything, you're still learning. And so learn from those mistakes rather than, being discouraged and thinking like, oh, I made a mistake, like I'm the worst employee, blah blah blah. Don't be hard on yourself in the sense that you don't take it as an opportunity to grow. So yeah, I would say that's one of the things I'd say is to learn from those mistakes, and not take the criticism or the feedback, I would say, as something that's very personal. It's more used for your growth. And also, um, I think it's also important to note that it's probably going to be different than what you're used to, especially if you're coming from like let's say from college, you just graduated from a university, it's going to be different, unless you have some real work experience, like Sarah was saying. If you don't have any of that real work experience, it is going to be different. And it is going to be maybe more of like a learning curve for you to get used to the company culture, to get used to the way that certain things go about, maybe as simple as how an email is sent out, or how a call is made, or how you do a meeting or something like that. Maybe those simple things don't seem like they're super big, but it still does take a learning curve for you to be able to do those things with ease, and to understand how kind of the company works and the company culture and everything like that. So yeah, those top two things of recognizing that you will make mistakes and learning from them, and to also understand that you're going to be going into a very different environment. So, be a little easy on yourself, and recognize there will be a learning curve. So yeah, and be open, ask questions where you need them. If it seems like it's something simple, I'm sure, they'll appreciate you trying to get it right. Take lots of notes. I have, a notebook that I take into work every day. Take those notes, write down tasks in multiple different areas so you don't forget them. But yeah, just ask those questions, be willing to learn, and recognize that you're entering something that's very different for you.
That's wonderful. Seems like being a life long learner is the key to success, to career success. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I would say we're almost the end of this conversation. I would say my last question is, what final piece of advice would you give to any young professional and newly college graduate who are feeling hopeless and helpless?
Well, other than picking up the book, that it has a lot of wonderful career development skills and lessons, I would say take a deep breath. I know that this is a very uncertain time. I know because I've been there. I was just there 3 years ago, so I understand. Take a deep breath, recognize the hard work that you've put in, those past 4 years of your life, and be proactive. Take those proactive steps. Do something that you love. Pursue something that is going to bring joy, because once you get into a career that brings you joy, it makes a huge difference. And so take the proactive steps that you need to be able to do something that you love, and will bring you fulfillment in your life. So yeah, you got this. I know it's scary, but you'll look back in a few years, and you'll be so in awe of how far that you've come in just such a short amount of time.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. We so appreciate you for taking the time to let me interview you on your career journey. Do you have one final advice to our audience and also to the readers of From Illusion to Reality?
I would say apply those lessons that you're learning. If you're listening to this podcast, apply the lessons that you're learning. If you read the book, don't just read it. Don't just digest everything. Actually use what you're learning. As something that I read recently is sometimes it's so easy to be consumers of a lot of information, but we're not doers. And so don't just consume the information. Do it. Be proactive and act on all of this wonderful wisdom. We live in an age right now where you can go on YouTube and you can find a bunch of TED Talks. You can listen to this podcast, for example, and you can get really vital and important information. You can go into a Facebook group and you can talk to other college graduates. Work and be proactive based on all of this wonderful information that is at your fingertips. So yeah, I would say definitely be a doer, not just a consumer.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Once again, please, to all our audience and readers of From Illusion to Reality, don't forget to subscribe our channel, because from time to time I will post interviews with different professionals, and so that they can share their topics on the career and also helpful tips, how to achieve career success and also professional success. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.